don't know. I didn't have any of the comforts that I grew up with. This state of isolation, like, just led me to, I don't know, like, really shift my perspective. And, like, I just felt flooded with love.
Bringin It Backwards.
I'm Adam, and I appreciate you taking time today to hang. And this podcast is about you and your journey in music. And we'll talk about the new EP that just came out a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
Amazing. Awesome. You said you were in North Carolina. Are you born and raised in North Carolina?
No, I'm from New Jersey, and I lived there pretty much my whole life. And I moved to North Carolina like 2 years ago, very randomly.
Okay. Very cool. So Jersey, tell me about growing up in New Jersey. What was that like?
It was cool. I grew up like right outside of New York. It was pretty chill. I don't know. It was very like arts oriented. Felt like everyone knew made music or like did some kind of art, which I liked. And
That's cool.
Because then like I met all these people from different places, and they're like, I was like the outcast for being an artist, and I was like, oh, like everyone makes art where I'm from.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. In a lot of places, that's like the outcast kids are the ones writing music or doing artsy things. Not a lot of kids. Did you go to an art school or no? Just that just happened to be the town.
Yeah, it's just like everyone did it. I don't know. It's funny. It's like a lot of people are from my town that ended up pursuing music. Like SZA went to my high school.
Oh
Lauren
wow.
Hill, like a lot of it. I don't know. It's weird.
It breeds art where
It
you're
does.
at.
It does.
Do you come from an artistic household at all?
Yeah, like my parents always really loved music. Like they always valued it growing up. My dad plays a bunch of instruments, and they were always really like supportive of me wanting to pursue music. Like they never made it feel like an outrageous idea. Like they're just like, yeah, do it.
Oh, cool. What so you said your dad plays a bunch of instruments. What are some of the ones that he plays?
I mean, it's mainly guitar.
Okay.
Yeah, I started on keys, and I asked him to if I could take piano lessons when I was 7, and then instead of him like getting me lessons, he started doing an online course and then teaching me as he learned.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great idea because my son wants to learn piano and I've always wanted to learn. So
Hmm.
he's doing drums right now, but that's a great idea. Though I'm gonna steal that from your dad. I'll learn and then teach him what I'm learning.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's like a really great bonding thing, and then you learn, and you can like I
Yeah,
don't know.
two for one.
Yeah, it's really sick. And he never like I never learned how to read music or anything. So it was like always just by like feel and like just
Hmm.
knowing chords and stuff. So it was like an abstract way of learning.
That's awesome though. So 7. Do you remember why you decided on piano or keys? Like, was it something that drew you to it, or you just
Honestly,
happened to gravitate there?
whoa, I've actually never thought about that. I don't know. I don't really remember what my thinking was. I just like had this desire to play keys because it was always like a way of just accompanying myself because I was already like writing songs and singing a lot.
Oh, wow. That or young, at 7?
Yeah, I've always loved music. Like it's like I can't remember a time when I didn't know that like music was everything. I don't know.
Interesting. That's awesome. So at what age did you, I mean, to be writing songs at 7 years old, like, do you remember when, or was it always just kind of coming up with little melodies and just making things up as you got older?
Well, I had this like tiny little audio recorder. I remember when I was maybe like 6, and I would record a lot of ideas in there. And then really like I always think of the first like official songwriting I did as like the second grade talent show because there was a talent show every year at school. And I remember I had written some song, and then I was like, okay, the talent show's coming up, like this is official now, like I'm gonna write a song and I'm gonna sing it and play it. So it was really when I was 7 that I officially like started my singer songwriter journey.
Wow. Do you have a recording of that song still?
I have a video of it, and I still remember how to play it. It's actually funny because it's like I still gravitate to similar kinds of chord progressions now.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
It'd be cool if you like took a piece of it and like put it into a song.
that would be really dope. That's a great idea.
Just like, yeah, manipulate it in some way or just leave it as is. I don't know what the song sounds like. That's really rad that you have that, like the first song you ever wrote.
And it's funny, it was like this whole debacle because like I started playing at the school and then like the mic wasn't on and I was like, what the? And then I like go on stage and it was like this whole fucking thing.
You're like, can someone sound engineer fix this here? What's going on? That's really funny. So at 7 you do that, and then obviously you continue songwriting, but was that something that you were always writing and then showing people the songs, or were you pursuing it in that way? Because to have the confidence to write a song, especially at 7, and then go out onto like a talent show stage and play that and present it to all of your peers, I mean, that takes a lot of courage.
Yeah, it's funny. I think I've gotten less and less confident over the years. Like, it's so weird because, yeah, as a kid or at that age, I didn't really experience anxiety, like any kind of social anxiety. So
Mhm.
I would just go up and I didn't give a shit. Wait, can I curse on this
Yeah,
podcast?
yeah, say whatever the hell you want. Fine.
um, and then I don't know, as time went on, I felt that it was like this weird pressure. Like, I don't know, music became a lot more private for me, I guess. Like,
Do you remember when that switch happened? Were you like in high school or middle school or something when that?
yeah, okay, so I remember like I don't know. I started to feel this anxiety, I guess around how I presented and like my gender when I was in like maybe 5th grade or
Okay.
I don't or maybe actually maybe earlier than that. Probably like 3rd, but I was still comfortable with myself, but I remember this I had this feeling of like disappointment in 5th grade. It's all oriented around the talent shows because this was like this was my anchor, I guess, for
Okay.
writing songs in elementary school. But I remember this feeling I got like after the show in 5th grade, and I don't know, I was like bummed out about it. And I remember my dad making a comment about like, well, it seems you really care about what people think now. And I was like, how do I get out of that? Like I really do. It's like just kind of a bummer, but I don't know. I go up and down with like my my like willingness and desire to share my music. Like I feel I love sharing my recordings, like songs and stuff, but
Mhm.
performing is like a whole other thing for me.
Okay. And with your recordings, so were you continuing to record yourself all, from that age forward?
Yeah, yeah. Like I would yeah, I got like this I just had all my dad's gear when I was younger. He would have like he had a little 8-track thing, so I would like play keys and layer it and do vocals and stuff.
Was he like a songwriter, musician? Like that's crazy to have all that gear.
Yeah, it was a blessing. It was like a I guess kind of a short-lived dream of his to like pursue music full time. So then he did have all this stuff. And then yeah, I was really blessed to like be able to use it and yeah. I mean, I don't know if you can hear he's literally playing guitar right now.
I
Before
can't hear
I
him.
have
That's
to be like,
awesome.
"Can you please turn it down because I'm about to do an interview."
He's like, "Can you hear me?" Like, no, just kidding. That's rad. Wow. Okay. So has he always been obviously supportive, but when you were writing music and writing songs, even from an early age, would you run the ideas by your dad and be like, "Hey, I wrote this piece," or no?
No. Yeah, I don't know. I never really I guess I don't know if the word's respect. I never like wanted other people's opinions on my music,
Mm,
I guess, growing up. Like I always felt very self-assured in the creation of the music. Like and I would almost like be opposed to hearing people's perspectives.
oh, interesting.
And I still
So
feel
if you put something out, would you just not read comments or even care what anyone else said about it?
well, like in theory, yes, but then it's hard to not read comments. Like now I actively try to just disconnect from any kind of reaction and I try not to give any value to it, whether it's negative or positive, because I find that when I give value to other people's opinions, it's just a losing game. Like I get so much love, but I also like what if someone who loves this song, then I put out another song, they don't love it. Suddenly the value that I put in their opinion is like degrading me, you know?
Hmm.
So I just try not to care about what other people think of it and just do it like for what makes me feel good.
Yeah, I was gonna say I watched this video. You're like stoked when Howard Stern like talks about your song. I mean, to have the legend like him and even recognize it, that's pretty crazy.
Well, I don't know if you saw the full video, but he wasn't being very positive about it.
Oh, he wasn't positive, but I mean, the fact that he even found, you know what I mean? Like
Oh yeah. I mean,
even if he trashed me, I'd be like, at least he saw. You know what I mean?
no, totally. I mean, it was hilarious. Like that was so random. Like I was literally just chilling in my living room and my dad was like, "My friend texted me that Howard Stern played your song on the radio." And I was like, "What?" And we found the clip and I was like, "Oh my god, what did he say?" And he's like saying all this shit about how it's really annoying. And I was like, "Oh my god, this is iconic."
No, that's incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
any publicity is good, right? And especially from a guy at one point where he could make you a millionaire overnight just by pushing a product of yours. I mean, the fact that he even recognized or how found the song. I mean, who cares? That's insane that it even happened.
You know, it really shows like it's just crazy the reach that the internet has. You know,
Hmm.
like, you just never know who's listening to your stuff. I was thinking about that lately. Like a lot of the times we base our success off like quantity and like numbers and we don't actually like see which individual people are listening to it. And then
Hmm.
some random shit will happen. Like I had a song that I mean, it did relatively well, I guess, if you think about it numbers wise, but like it didn't have as many streams as other songs of mine. And then like the Gorillas like put it in one of their playlists, and I was like, they're like one of the those are that's who's listening to it, you know? Like
Right.
you you could have one play and it could be like Drake. Like you just have to
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
it's so cool. Like I love that 'cause it's very like it makes it feel a lot more personal when you have little moments like that. You're like, okay,
Right. I mean, I'd
individual.
rather have one listen from Drake than 100,000 listens because you're like, well, Drake heard it. Like, I mean, just the fact that you could, you know, that he
Yeah,
listened to the whole thing. Who knows what he thought of it, but it doesn't. He heard it. I mean, that's pretty.
it
Even to
would be
think like,
yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I do too. It'd be crazy if you could see like who listens to your music. Like instead of the numbers, just like which type
Oh, like
listening.
on Instagram where you can see who likes your video or whatever. Like, it's just who listened, and then it'll have like the people that have the most clout on the top.
Like,
You're like, Taylor Swift heard my song? That's amazing.
yeah, I mean they used to have that on SoundCloud. You could see like who was listening to your stuff, and
Oh, yeah.
I
I
would
do
look
remember
at it
that.
obsessively, and I would notice, and then I would hit those people up, and I'd be like, "Saw you peeped my song."
Oh, that's smart, right? I mean, SoundCloud was such a big thing. It's I mean, for a long time, it was like Hype Machine and SoundCloud, which were the ones where people were, you know, discovering new music or collaborating. And then you had all these artists that came out of those SoundCloud, you know, collaborations.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was an amazing network to meet people. Like I met so many people that I still like work with today and am friends with through SoundCloud.
That's cool. That's so
It was
cool.
an amazing era.
When you were saying that you kind of stood away from performing your songs, but you didn't have a problem showing the recordings, like did that kind of carry through high school? In high school, were you just releasing songs, and were you always releasing songs under your name, or like were you in a band or anything like that?
Yeah, so I've always put out stuff under my name. I used to I mean, wait, what was the question again? I'm sorry.
Oh, were you like, has this project that you're currently doing with Mia Gladstone, was that always your project, or did you have a band before that, or like were you doing other things prior to what you're doing now?
Okay, yes, sorry. Yeah, so it was always under my name. I've had like I mean, I had some little band moments throughout the years. But it was always like my name was always I guess the name of the project.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with like through high school and everything, were you playing shows around Jersey or New York, or was it mainly just focusing on recording?
Um, I'm trying to think. I feel like I mean, yeah, I would play shows here and there. Like I said, I grew up in a very arts oriented town, so there would be like
Hmm.
local shows and stuff. And then like most I guess I emphasize like putting out music more than playing shows, and that was like how I gained more success. And then
Sure.
I focused on live shows a lot like after high school. Like I
Okay.
started playing with a band, but it was like under my name. And
Hmm.
we would play shows like all the time in the city, like in New York. And yeah, I played a couple of shows in LA. It was cool. It was like a period of my life where I was just playing as much as I could. kind
Mhm.
of to try and just feel more comfortable on stage and to like experiment in like low pressure environments and meet people. There's this thing called Treble that was like, it was such a moment. It was like every Tuesday in New York. It was always like the coolest group of people that would come together that were just like so open and creative. And there'd always be a cipher at the end. There'd be a couple like showcased performers. So I would do that a lot. And that was really fun. It was like very community oriented.
That's really cool.
That's what I love. Like I do love that about performing over just like releasing stuff online. Like I love just like the human connection aspect and community.
Mhm. With you said that was after high school when you started performing a lot more. Did you go to college for music or not at all?
I didn't go to college. I did a 5 week recorded audio engineering program in
Mhm.
Ohio, like right
Oh,
when I
wow.
graduated. It was so random because I graduated early and then so I graduated in January and then there's this program in February because I had been working with this producer who was from Ohio
Mhm.
and
What
he
part of Ohio? I have family there. Just curious.
really Chillicothe. Have you heard of
Mm.
it? It's
No.
so no one's ever heard of it. Like even people from Ohio because it's
They're like, where the hell is that?
it was really
It's
the middle.
somewhere in Ohio.
I lived in a trailer, like, it was really the middle of nowhere. It was a very different experience for me. Like, and it honestly, it, like, led to, I guess, what I would call my spiritual awakening. It was really crazy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me about that if you don't mind.
Yeah. Well, it was basically what I think was, like it was a very isolating environment. Like, I didn't know
Mhm.
anybody. I was 17. I was, like, with all these people who were older than me, and it just kind of, like I don't know, I didn't have any of the comforts that I grew up with, and this state of isolation, like, just led me to I don't know, like, really shift my perspective, and, like, I just felt flooded with love. Like, I became really aware of, like, different tendencies I had previously had that were, like, maybe kind of negative or petty, and
Mhm.
I just started to, like, see the value of humans, I guess, and not even just humans, just life. I went vegan, like, the day I got there, and then I
Okay.
think that also added to it because I stopped eating, any, like, animal products, and I don't know. Like it was just this amazing thing where I met really open-minded people or I don't know if the word's open-minded. It was like they were very outwardly loving. Like I think maybe I've always been a bit emotionally repressed and then like
Mhm.
and kind of shy and then going into a place where I don't know anybody and then they're so welcoming and open was like really eye-opening for me because I was like, "Oh wow, you can conduct yourself in this way that's like so just nice and like connected." And
Mhm.
all these people, they had very different upbringings from me. A lot of them were like religious, like Christian, and it was just interesting. Like I grew up in a bubble, you know, like I grew up where most people seemed to have the same opinions, or at least would project those opinions to the world, and it was cool just being around people who we didn't agree on everything, but we
Mhm.
agreed on just the basis of like being a human and being kind.
Mhm.
So
Wow.
it was really impactful.
That's really cool, especially to have that I mean, at 17 years old before you're kind of really going into
Yeah.
adulthood and everything else, like to be able to have that introspective look at yourself. And I mean, a lot of people don't get that ever or later, way later down the line in life.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for it. It was like, because I when I got there, I was like kind of having a breakdown, like, why am I here? And then I got that perspective, okay, this is why I did that because it
Mhm.
needed to happen.
Were you writing a lot of songs and did that change your songwriting at all?
Oh, it absolutely did. Like, I mean, I came back and I made like my first project, Grow. It's like 8 songs.
Mhm.
7? I don't remember. I made that like in a couple weeks after I came back.
Really?
Yeah, I felt so inspired and like everything I'm writing about in Grow is very just like it's about like universal love and alignment and connection. Like I don't know. I yeah. It definitely affected me a lot in like
Mhm.
every way.
And what when you got back and you started releasing songs that some of them which came out on Grow, like what would you say like the first big kind of success moment you had that was really like, "Oh, wow, I need to keep" like, did you ever have like some ups and downs where you're like, "I don't know if I should keep going," and then
Hmm.
something happens?
Hmm. Well, I don't know. I honestly have been unwavering in my like in my pursuit of a music career or a career in
Okay.
music. Like there's never really been, well, I don't know. I guess there have been a couple things that have made me doubt myself, just in like, I mean, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about before and like reading comments and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I did a feature with Toby Lou, this like amazing artist, last year maybe or 2 years ago, and he had like a way wider audience than me, and it was really interesting, like being projected to the world in this way where like most people who listen to me or who have like found me on their own and they feel connected to me and part of my journey because it's like it's still pretty early on like for people to find me, and then
Mm-hmm.
so
Right. I mean, that debut EP came out like at the end of 2019, right? Like right before the pandemic.
yeah, yeah,
Right. So
like
it's not been very long at all.
yeah, it hasn't. And so yeah, like people who had followed me previously before Toby Lou were like they felt like invested in my career, and I don't know, like I'll get this comment constantly that's like, I'm proud of you. It's like they know me, you know? And then like suddenly I work with this bigger artist and then I just become this image to people and they're not like viewing me as a human. They're just like, oh, who is this girl who's like on a Toby Lou song? And like I found that people were looking at me from a different perspective, where instead of a human, I'm an like a figure, I guess, who
Mm-hmm.
like they're not taking like my feelings into account. So I was like reading all these weird comments and like I don't know, it was really a lot. Suddenly I was like, do I want this kind of success that I had been like pining over before? Like I don't know. It's weird.
Right. Because now you have all these different eyes on you that haven't kind of grown up with you as an artist, right? And then they're just going to start critiquing you right off the bat. Like, oh, I like this artist, but what is this person's deal?
Exactly. Like yeah, so it's so weird. That's like one of the things that has maybe swayed me a bit. But I always come back to it where I'm just like, music's at the forefront. I just want to use
Sure.
music for healing. So,
Well, on to that note, like, what was the first? I mean, that sounds like a big moment in your career to have that feature, but like, what would you say another moment was that was like, okay, this is awesome, like a validating
hmm.
experience that you had?
Oh, I'm trying to think. I've had a lot. Like, I've had a lot of really beautiful moments. Um, I don't know. Like, I mean, I went to this music retreat when I was 19. I was at DJ Jazzy Jeff's house. It's called
Oh, wow.
Retreat. Yeah, and that I mean that was a really crazy validating moment for me because I just like get this cold email from him and he's like, yeah, it's like 100 people and we'd love to have you. And I was like, okay. And then I
Were you like,
got
is this real? Like, I mean, that'd be the
there.
first.
I know I was like, is this real? My managers were like, holy shit. And then like I went and I was just like, I was with so many artists that I look up to and like just legit artists, not like clout driven things. Like Kiefer was there and like Mac Ayers and DJ Premier, like all these like
Wow.
amazing, yeah, Robert Glasper. Like I was just like, where am I? And at first I went in kind of being like, I mean, honestly, for probably the whole time I was there, I felt a little bit like a fraud because I was the youngest person. I was like there weren't that many women there and I was just like how did I get here? Like I'm surrounded by really amazing musicians. And also I had this weird like complex, I guess, where I felt or maybe it's not a complex, I don't know. I felt kind of I guess I was looked down on a lot as an artist from people just online, just
Hmm.
because people would like take my what I look like and how I present and they would be like you're success, or maybe they wouldn't look at me as a musician and more so look at me like a social media figure.
Oh, sure.
So it was like this thing where I would have this thing like, am I only successful because of my body, or like, like I kind of dealt with this self doubt that was just projections from other people, but sometimes I would start to believe them. So then I was
Hmm.
at this music retreat where I was surrounded by all these people, and then I still there was like, I don't know about this. But then after the fact, like so many of the artists reached out to me and were like, didn't know who I was before, but then I gained like this really beautiful community of artists that I had already admired, and
Right.
very validating for me just as a musician to be like, okay, people like my music and like people
Yeah,
respect me.
and the
I-
legends like are
yeah,
around you, and they all respect you and what you're doing.
yeah.
That had to be massively validated. I wouldn't even know what to say if I met DJ Premier. Just like
Oh
I'm a
yeah,
huge fan of Gangstar.
it was insane. And there were all these jam sessions, and like I wouldn't sing in them because I was like, I don't want to like mess it up. But then afterwards, I don't know, like I gained a lot of perspective. And then I went on tour with Kiefer, who I met there, and like it was just this amazing thing that happened to me. Definitely like a turning point.
What year was that? Was that around the time that you released that record or the EP?
Yeah. Yeah, it was 2019.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so you do that and like things are going and you got the EP out, and you're doing these big things, and then COVID happens, and how does that then crash the whole party?
So yeah, that was shitty. I mean, honestly though, for me it came at a good time because I was supposed to go on tour with Kiefer and then COVID happened. And then
Okay.
we ended up going on tour like 2 years later. But so that happened, and I had been really trying to finish. I mean, I just dropped Loopy 2 weeks ago, but I was trying to
Hmm.
finish Loopy back then.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
it wasn't called Loopy yet, and it was like a more abstract idea, but then I ended up dropping a project before that because I was like trying to do all this production, and it was just really hard for me, I guess, to get shit done and like to be focused and to to like get these expressions out of myself in that time.
Hmm.
And I don't know, I took quite a while off. Like I don't know, because music had always been this overpowering thing in my life where I didn't really care about anything else. And then suddenly I just like found other things that fulfilled me. Like I got really into cooking and like meditation and breath work and like nature. And I was like, I don't have to just do music literally all the time. Like I can do other things. So I gave myself a lot of space to do other things and not like put this pressure on myself to create. And I probably didn't make music for like, oh, I mean, I wouldn't say a year, but definitely like months on end. Just didn't make
Really?
it.
So,
Yeah.
well, where did that fall? Where did that fall in line? Because it sounds like you had Loopy, almost finished, and then you put out
Yeah.
Cycles, right? And that was still in 2020. So, was it after you released that EP that you kind of took this downtime?
Yeah. Yeah. So I did Cycles, and that was like a collab project. And then yeah, like Luby had been in the works, and then after Cycles, I kind of took a break.
How
Um,
did you decide? Like, what made you decide on, stopping working on Loopy and then pursuing this new, and then starting up on Cycles? Like, how come you took that pause and or
yeah,
went towards that other EP?
I was just in over my head. Like I
Okay.
couldn't finish it because like my whole thing was that my concept for it was that it would be produced by me featuring other people. And
Hmm.
like it was taking a long time to get the features. And then I was like, when I wasn't getting features back, I was like, why aren't these songs resonating with people? Like I feel like I need to add stuff to them or like it
Oh,
improves
I
the
see.
producer. And then it
Because
was just
you did everything on that record,
it.
right? I mean, as far as producing, and then all the features are people you reach out to. Okay, yeah, I want to talk to you about this. I'm excited to hear about Loopy, but okay, so you were working on that, and it was difficult to do it all yourself. So then, when you start Cycle, you said you had some help on that one?
Yeah, well, Cycles was produced by my friend Danny. So I just had to do the writing and singing, and I recorded it all at his place.
Oh, okay.
So it was like that was something that I was just like, okay, well, it's already mostly done, and I should just put this out before Loopy. Because to
Hmm.
me, originally the natural progression would have been like Grow, which was co-produced by me, and then Loopy fully produced by me. But then it
Hmm.
was kind of cool to like have like an interim little EP that was like all my writing, obviously, but not produced by me. It was just
Hmm.
easier that way.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So was there a moment after that, and then after kind of that year that you took off, that things started to kind of fall in line for Loopy? Like, oh, this person responded, or I was able to get this feature, and let's start ramping this back up.
Well, yeah, honestly, I mean, it had been a big weight like on my shoulders. Like I I don't know. I had a deal for it. Like I had a little 2 EP deal with like the in like ADA.
Hmm.
Uh, so I had all these people like hitting me up constantly, being like, "Where's the music?" And I just I was like, "I can't do it," and it was, I don't know, it was really crazy. Like it was really difficult for me, honestly. I doubt that was the first time in my life where I suddenly doubted myself as a musician. Like, I mean, I had doubts before about like where my success was drawn from, but I always felt good about my music. And
Mm-hmm.
then suddenly I was like, can I even do this? Like, why did I commit to making this whole project? So then it was really like people hitting me up constantly, and then me sending very like vague updates, being like, "Oh yeah, it's all coming along," and then
Going
I
great.
yeah, so they're like, "Why haven't I heard anything?" I'm like, "I'm private about my music." So then, like, I'm trying to think of why I started again. I mean, I really just had to.
Okay.
I just like it was. I don't know. I don't remember how I regained inspiration to make music, but I did. Maybe I just waited long enough. I
That's
experienced
good.
more life.
Yeah, right, right. And do you remember the first song that you sent over, or did you just say, "Here's the whole EP. It's ready to go now"?
I mean, well, no, so there were songs for it. Like the first one I made was "Swimming on the First Date," and I mean that was done before Cycles, so that had
Oh,
been,
okay.
they already had pieces of songs before Cycles came out, so they knew there was something.
They knew something was happening. It
Yeah,
wasn't just, "Oh yeah, I've got it going on," and then just nothing.
yeah, so funny. Yeah, I don't know. Then like Open Letter off Loopy was like a really huge undertaking, and like that that's one of the ones I can think of where I like regained inspiration, where I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna go for it. And because I had been talking to my friend William, and I hadn't really been sending the music to anybody, and then I sent it to him because he makes music videos, and he ended up making all the music videos for Loopy.
Oh,
And so
wow.
yeah, and we were just on the phone. He lived in Florida. I had randomly moved to North Carolina where I didn't know anybody. And I was like really depressed. And I was like, I sent him the music and we were ideating. It's like he loves doing that, even if he's not involved in a video. He just loves talking about ideas. So we
Mhm.
were doing that. And then I'd sent him Open Letter, and it was called Higher Than a Peak at the time. And like, I think I got inspired because of his reaction to it. Like he was so excited about it. And I was like, huh, okay, this is cool. Like now that I'm saying this, I'm like, wow, bro, like you're really just going off people's validation. But that was a big part of it, I guess. Just
Well,
like
it is, right? I mean, if you're doing something for a long enough time and no one cares, right? I mean, if you were putting songs out for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and not one of them hits, or all just like on Spotify with like the less than 1,000, you're like, maybe I should reconsider what I'm doing, or like, how is there another approach I can take here? Like it would take, I would imagine, take something to kind of like kick it up to be like, oh, okay, like this is working. Or
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I don't know.
that's so funny. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's true. So, and I valued William's opinion because he listens to weird ass music that I love, and like he just like, I don't know, his videos are crazy. So I was like, okay, this person with cool artistic perspective like vibes with Open Letter. And then
Mhm.
I just felt inspired to like keep going. It was hard because most like I guess most of the songs I started in Jersey, and I had this little studio called Pink Box Studios that was in my basement. That was like the walls and the floor were pink, and like it was just like this amazing little sanctuary of mine. It was a tiny room, but it was like my space, and I would make all my shit in there. And then I
Mhm.
moved to North Carolina, where like I live on like one floor with my family, and there's like really not a lot of privacy at all. And I was like, how am I supposed to finish this project? Like I don't even have anywhere to record. It posed as like a huge challenge. Just I think that was another reason I took a big break, was just because I was like, how am I supposed to make anything right now?
Yeah. And
Yeah,
how did you end up getting studio time, or just started to build your setup there? Because you
I mean,
produced the whole album, right? Or the whole EP?
yeah, I did it all here. Like, I mean, it was so basic. Like, I just had my little computer that I'm talking to you on in my room.
Mhm.
It had a little USB mic, and I also had an audio interface with like an actual mic, but I used
Okay.
a mix of those, headphones. I programmed most of it on the computer, and then like I have a keyboard that I would sometimes plug in for like little MIDI things and sounds, but super basic setup that I
It's
just
not
worked with what I had.
That's amazing. It's so amazing to think that you could make something on your computer literally with like a computer and maybe like a couple $100 worth of gear or like a USB mic and an interface, and it doesn't really even matter anymore. As far as like, you don't need to go spend 200 grand at some ridiculous studio.
Oh my God, not at all. I mean, my USB mic is $20 and I recorded so much on there.
That's so insane. Yeah, it all just comes down to if you know how to use it, right? And if you don't know how to use the tools that are there.
Yeah, it's just experimentation. Like I think creating with limits is actually really really like powerful and sometimes yields the best results. Because sometimes if you have too much capabilities, like where do I even begin? I have like a million like ways I can do this. If you're just
Right.
if you just have a couple things you can do, then you can like be more creative with it.
Yeah, I totally agree, because it's like you can just get overwhelmed. Like, okay, where do I go? Or
Yeah.
like I've talked to a lot of artists that during lockdown and everything, they had songs, and then it just became this overproducing cycle. Because okay, I don't have any time limit on this, and then
Yeah.
it's I should change this little, like the kick needs like a little more EQ, and then it's like you listen to it for another 2 weeks, you're like and then we go back into it, and it just becomes never ending.
I'm
Like you
so
can never put it away.
yeah, I mean I feel that. I definitely feel that. But it's kind of cool. I don't know. It's such an interesting balance to strike. Like, I don't know. I
Sure.
love that there's no rules to it.
Mhm.
Like, I'm done when I say I'm done.
Right, exactly. That's an amazing spot to be in.
Yeah.
So that EP's out. I mean, you were in London. Are you working on new music already, and what do you have going on? Are you gonna tour to promote the EP, or mainly just doing stuff online?
Yeah. So I am making new music now because I had Loopy obviously is like this whole huge project that I was very invested in for a long time. So I like didn't
Hmm.
really collab with anybody outside of it. And now I'm feeling like inspired to just honestly not produce shit right now and just work with producers and write stuff. And in terms of like touring, right now I'm in this place where I'm like really I'm like reflecting and thinking hard about my live show and how I want it to change because over the years, like I've said, performing is a very different thing for me and it's
Hmm.
I don't feel as passionate at performing as I do about like making music. And so I want to find ways to like I want to have like events and performances where I like bring people into my space and it feels a lot more like personal than just like having a show at a traditional venue. Like I don't know exactly what it looks like right now, but I just want it to be more experimental and I'm trying to think of things that like the environment that I'm in that makes me so comfortable when I'm making music.
Hmm.
And I want to channel that in a live performance with other people because like I said I love human connection. I just like I don't know. Right now, I don't feel like my live shows have embodied the music fully. So I'm
Okay,
just in this period where I'm really rethinking how I want to present myself in a live setting.
I love it. Well, the record's awesome,
Thank
and yeah, I love what you're doing, despite what Howard Stern thinks.
you.
Well, I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for doing this to me. I have one more question. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Yes, I do. I mean, my biggest piece of advice is always to just experiment because I think like naturally humans are very fluid and it is important to like honor that fluidity and not box yourself in and just allow yourself to express however you naturally flow. Like don't put limits on how you express. You can express anything through music. You don't have to like censor yourself or be restricted. So that's why I guess my main advice, just experiment and express.
Bringing it backwards.